Hey everyone, it's Alex Harper from Mortgage Monitor. I want to chat with you about something serious happening in the California housing market. We're on the verge of a major collapse, and trust me, it's going to be much worse than what we saw back in 2008. This isn't just speculation or fear talk. It's based on some hard facts that a lot of real estate agents, state officials, and big banks don't want to share with you. Once you grasp what's going on behind the scenes, you'll understand why I'm saying that 2026 isn't just a guess. It's pretty much a done deal. I know many of you have been hoping that California home prices can't go any higher. You're absolutely right. They can't and they won't. If you're considering buying, selling, or even just staying put here, you really need to listen up. And hey, do me a favor. Hit that like button if you want to stay ahead of this upcoming crisis, because what I'm about to talk about impacts everyone involved in California real estate. Before we dive into the numbers, I just want to share my thoughts on what real estate should be about. I believe homes are meant for families to live in, create memories, and enjoy life while still being able to spend their hard earned cash on experiences, whether that's a family trip or just going on adventures. What really gets me fired up is how corporations are buying up homes, thousands, even millions of them, just to raise rents and squeeze every last dollar from people. They keep jacking up rents year after year and then blame folks for not working hard enough. Sure, having a vacation home is fine, but it shouldn't be more than one place for you and your family to unwind when your situation allows for it. What has transpired in the last few decades, especially in the past 5 years, is just plain unacceptable. Now, I want to share my honest thoughts on what you can do over the next several months and moving into the next year to get ready for what's coming next. Hey everyone, let's talk about why I believe California home prices are going to take a nosedive by 2026. It's pretty eye-opening, so hang tight. First off, did you know that California has lost 500,000 residents in just the last 3 years? That's more people than live in Sacramento packing up and leaving. That's just the tip of the iceberg, though. The California Association of Realtors shared some shocking stats. Home prices are currently a whopping 847% higher than back in 1990, while median incomes have only climbed 189%. Just think about it. An average home in California now sets you back about $843,000, but the median household income is only $91,000. This means a typical family would need to spend 9.3 years worth of their entire pre-tax income just to buy that house. That's not even taking into account food, taxes, or other expenses. It's totally unsustainable, and honestly, it just doesn't add up. Now let's talk about the tech industry, which has been a big player in keeping things afloat. People thought the tech exodus was just a temporary phase, but it's picking up speed. Google recently announced 12,000 layoffs, Meta's cut 21,000 jobs, and Amazon has slashed 27,000 positions. Here's the kicker: they're not coming back. As per the folks at CBRE, San Francisco's office vacancy rate is now sitting at about 35%. That means one in every three offices is empty. Those tech workers were the ones paying crazy rent, like $4,000 a month for a one-bedroom, or outbidding each other on starter homes by $200,000. But they're heading to places like Austin, Miami, and Nashville, anywhere but California. The brain drain is really happening, and it's pretty serious. I'd love to hear if you know someone who's ditched California for a cheaper place. And it doesn't stop there. Insurance companies are leaving California even faster than the residents. State Farm has stopped writing new policies, Allstate has completely pulled out, and American International Group is gone too. Over the last 18 months, more than 2.8 million policies have been canceled or not renewed, according to the California Department of Insurance. Without insurance, getting a mortgage is impossible. And without mortgages, buyers just disappear. It's a recipe for a price collapse. For those who still manage to have insurance, get this: premiums in fire-prone areas have shot up by 398%. That's an extra $15,000 to $20,000 a year just for insurance, on top of the mortgage. This whole situation is definitely leading us into rough waters. I totally get that these numbers can feel a bit overwhelming. Picture this: you've worked your entire life to afford a home in California, only to see your insurance costs munching away at your kids' college funds. It's really tough, and it's hitting millions of families right now. I want to hear your thoughts, especially about insurance payments, but also about the wild property taxes we have to deal with if we can even snag a home. So let me break it down in a way that's easy to understand. Imagine a few big corporations swooping in, buying up tons of homes with cash and driving up the prices of the nearby houses. Then, when us regular folks finally manage to buy one of these properties, we end up facing sky-high property taxes because the value has been reassessed. You're basically paying way more for something you know isn't really worth that much. And let's not even get started on all the yearly payments, everything from property tax to utilities, insurance, and those pesky HOA fees. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think is the most outrageous cost for homeowners out of all that. Now, back to the property tax situation. It might be the hidden crisis that no one's really chatting about. California's Proposition 13 has kept property taxes super low for those who've owned their homes for a long time. But here's the kicker: new buyers are taking a major hit. For example, someone buying a home today for $843,000 could end up paying $10,500 a year in property taxes, while their neighbor who bought back in 1995 is only paying $1,200. And here's something that might surprise you. Warren Buffett, yes, that Warren Buffett who owns a home in California, actually said his property tax should be much higher. He bought his place years ago and now finds his multi-million-dollar home worth over $10 million isn't taxed fairly. Isn't that interesting? Hey everyone, Alex Harper here from Mortgage Monitor. I've got some important info to share about California's housing market that you definitely want to hear. So let's start with something that's pretty alarming. California's state budget deficit has just hit a whopping $68 billion. That's a big deal, and the state is in desperate need of cash. There are already talks about making some changes to Proposition 13, which could mean that your property tax bill could go from, say, $3,000 to $15,000 overnight. Can you imagine that? It's not just a wild guess. It's happened in places like Texas, Illinois, and New Jersey. And California's financial situation is even worse than all of those states combined. Now, let's talk about the shadow inventory crisis. Right now, there are around 47,000 zombie properties in California, homes that are empty but haven't been foreclosed on yet. And it gets even crazier. There are about 182,000 homeowners who haven't made a mortgage payment in over 90 days. Banks are holding back and pretending everything's fine because they learned from the 2008 crash that dumping all these properties at once is a surefire way to crash the market. But here's where it gets tricky. With mortgage forbearance programs coming to an end and interest rates sitting at 8%, these properties are on the verge of pouring into the market. We could see 250,000 distressed homes hitting the market in the next 18 months. Now, if you want to stay in the loop on this crisis, make sure to subscribe because trust me, mainstream media isn't going to tell you about this until it's too late. The interest rate situation is tight, and many California homeowners are feeling the pressure. Here's a little math that a lot of people overlook. 78% of homeowners in California have mortgage rates below 4%. If they decide to sell and buy another home at today's rates of 8%, their monthly payments could double. For instance, a $600,000 mortgage at 3.5% costs about $2,694 a month, but at 8%, it jumps to $4,399. That's an extra $1,700 every month. Ugh. No wonder most folks aren't selling unless they really have to. In fact, inventory levels have dropped by 67% compared to normal levels. But life happens. Divorces, job losses, deaths, medical emergencies. According to the Federal Reserve, roughly 23% of homeowners will be forced to sell within the next 2 years, no matter what the rates are like. When that time comes, they'll need to price their homes aggressively. So keep an eye on these developments. You won't want to miss what's coming next. You know, the current situation for home buyers is pretty rough, especially with interest rates at 8%. It's really starting to show cracks in the market. I mean, California has a whopping $487 billion in commercial real estate debt, which is a big deal. Many office buildings sit at 35% vacancy, while retail spaces are turning into ghost towns. Because of this, defaults are just climbing. A recent report from Tree Analytics mentioned that commercial mortgage delinquencies in California have hit 9.7%, the highest we've seen since 2009. Now, here's how this ties into the housing market. The banks holding these risky commercial loans also handle residential mortgages. So, when commercial real estate takes a hit, and it will, lending standards are going to tighten up to levels that are nearly impossible to meet. We saw something similar back in 2008 when credit just froze overnight. Even folks who are well qualified struggle to get loans. And let's be real, cash is going to be king. Cash buyers often hunt for discounts around 40%. What do you think about the prospect of banks potentially shutting down mortgage lending again? Are you ready for that? Now let's talk about the regional banks, which are like ticking time bombs that people aren't paying attention to. First Republic has already failed, and Silicon Valley Bank is gone too. But there are 47 smaller banks in California that have over 200 billion tied up in real estate and are facing huge unrealized losses. According to the FDIC, these banks are underwater by $78 billion on their loan portfolios. They're basically zombies, technically insolvent, but still kicking. If just one more goes down, it could set off a chain reaction. People could panic, credit lines could freeze, and construction could come to a halt. The entire real estate system might just lock up. And here's where it gets tricky. Unlike 2008, there's no way the government can bail all these banks out this time. The Federal Reserve is already loaded with $8.7 trillion in assets. They don't have the capacity for another rescue. Let's also chat about demographics because this is where it really gets concerning. Baby boomers own about 38% of the real estate in California, which is around $3.2 trillion worth. They're getting older, with 10,000 of them turning 75 every single day. In just 5 years, we're on the brink of the largest wealth transfer we've ever seen. But here's the catch. Their kids can't afford to keep these houses, with property taxes, maintenance, and insurance piling up. Gen Xers and millennials are weighed down by student debt and can't handle million-dollar mortgages. So a flood of these homes is likely to hit the market, and estate sales aren't going to wait for the ideal conditions. They'll sell for whatever price they can get, and that alone might drive a correction of 20–30%. I know it feels like a whole lot to take in. Imagine our parents' generation having to sell the homes they dedicated their lives to. This isn't just a story. It's a conversation happening at dinner tables all over California right now. The shift back to working in the office is really causing problems. Places like Amazon are asking employees to be in the office 5 days a week. Google wants them there at least 3 days, and Meta has made it mandatory. The twist? During the pandemic, a lot of folks from California relocated to more affordable areas but kept their Bay Area salaries. Cities like Tahoe, Sacramento, and Riverside saw home prices shoot up by 40–60% thanks to these city refugees. Now, as companies call these workers back, many find they can't afford Bay Area prices anymore, so they're choosing to quit their jobs instead. A report from FlexJobs reveals that 87% of workers would rather leave than return to those pricey urban environments. This creates a downward spiral. The outer markets decline as remote workers leave, and urban areas can't bounce back because there aren't enough workers returning. We're seeing a widespread failure in every market segment at the same time. On top of that, the insurance crisis tied to climate change is speeding up faster than anyone thought. It's not only the fire zones anymore. According to the First Street Foundation, there are 3.7 million homes in California facing serious climate risks like flooding, fires, earthquakes, and mudslides. Insurance companies know what's coming because they've done the math. That's why they're bolting out of the market. The state's FAIR Plan, which is meant to cover those at risk, is currently responsible for $458 billion in property coverage, but only has $2.5 billion in reserves. Just one bad wildfire season or a major earthquake could bring the whole system down. When that happens, properties without insurance will be pretty much worthless. No insurance means no mortgage, and no mortgage means sales will only happen in cash at huge discounts. We're talking about immediate drops in property values by 40–50%. Let's not overlook the silent disaster of foreign investment drying up. Chinese buyers who used to pour $15 billion into California real estate each year have almost vanished. The National Association of Realtors reports that foreign investment has plummeted by 76% from its peak, and things are getting worse. Current foreign owners are panic selling. Factors like the Chinese government's capital controls, a strong dollar, and rising geopolitical tensions are driving them to sell quickly. These aren't sellers looking to make a profit. They're desperate, and will accept any price just to offload their properties. You know, in places like Arcadia, Irvine, and Palo Alto, there's been a big drop in home prices, especially because foreign investments made up about 30 to 40% of sales. If you think foreign investors pulling out will make things worse faster, go ahead and like this video. This is something a lot of people need to understand. Let's talk about why 2026 is looking like a huge turning point. A bunch of adjustable rate mortgages from 2021 and 2022 will start adjusting then. We're talking about a whopping $347 billion in California loans that could shoot from around 3% all the way up to 10%. That means monthly payments could jump by $2,000 to $4,000 almost overnight. According to mortgage data from Black Knight, 68% of borrowers won't even be able to refinance with current home values. They're stuck. They can't refinance, can't handle the new payments, and selling would mean taking a huge loss. This is setting the stage for a forced liquidation scenario just like what we saw in 2008, but this time, there's no government rescue on the way. On top of that, the construction industry is already feeling the pinch, and it's about to get much worse. California just hit a 15-year low in housing permits, down 73% from its peak. In the past year alone, 147 builders in California have gone bankrupt, and there are about 400 more that are basically insolvent. Why is this happening? Well, material costs are still sky high, up 180% since 2019, and labor costs have shot up by 67%. But new home prices can't climb any higher since they're already out of reach for most people. Sadly, builders are even abandoning projects halfway through. There are currently 23,000 homes left uncompleted throughout California. These half-built houses just sit there, dragging down the value of the neighborhood. If you've noticed abandoned construction sites in your area, let me know in the comments. It's happening all over and just keeps getting worse. Now, there's also the pension fund crisis that nobody seems to be talking about. California's huge pension funds, CalPERS and CalSTRS, have $1.2 trillion in liabilities, but only $780 billion in assets, leaving them underwater by $420 billion. To try and stay afloat, they've heavily invested in real estate, commercial and residential. They own everything from apartment buildings to office towers. When the real estate market crashes, those pension funds could collapse too, leading to a chain reaction of pension cuts, tax hikes, layoffs, and cuts to services. We've seen this kind of breakdown in places like Detroit and Chicago, but California's situation is even more extreme. The state is really going to have to make some tough choices. All right, let's break this down in simple terms. There's a situation where they need to choose between helping pensions or homeowners, and they can't do both. Let me share why the rental market's troubles will eventually bring down the home ownership market too. According to RealPage Analytics, California's rental vacancy rates have hit 8.7%, which is the highest it's been in 20 years. Rents are dropping quickly. San Francisco's down 23%, Los Angeles by 18%, and San Diego saw a 15% drop. Now here's the kicker. 47% of rental properties in California are owned by small landlords who rely on that rental income to manage their mortgage payments, and they're struggling big time. When the rent doesn't cover the mortgage, these properties end up being sold. But here's the problem. Who's buying? Investors aren't rushing in because rental yields are negative, and potential homeowners can't qualify at those 8% interest rates. So these homes will just sit there until prices fall enough to make them attractive again. We could be looking at a 30 to 40% drop in prices at the very least. On top of that, there's been a huge withdrawal of cash from California real estate by sovereign wealth funds, and it's getting worse. But hardly anyone's talking about it. For instance, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund just sold off $4.7 billion in California properties, and Norway's pension fund let go of another $3.2 billion. Singapore's GIC is completely pulling out. According to the Sovereign Wealth Fund Institute, more than $47 billion in institutional money is leaving California real estate. These decisions aren't driven by emotion, they're made by savvy investors who see what's on the horizon. When these funds start heading for the door, it's usually a sign that it's time to follow suit, but most people won't catch on until it's too late. There's also a looming issue with credit cards and home equity lines that could explode. Californians have taken out $487 billion in home equity through HELOCs and cash out refinancing, using their homes almost like ATMs. But with falling home prices and rising interest rates, that ATM is officially closed. According to TransUnion, 34% of California HELOC borrowers are already late on payments, and credit card debt in the state has skyrocketed to over $78 billion, the highest it's ever been. When folks can't access home equity anymore and their credit cards are maxed out, that's when we start seeing forced sales. This isn't guesswork, it's just basic math. Right now, the average California household is spending 67% of their income on housing and 23% on debt. That leaves just 10% for everything else: food, gas, healthcare, you name it. One unexpected medical bill, one car repair, or even one minor job issue could bring everything crashing down. We're already starting to see municipal bankruptcies, and that's going to hit property values hard. Places like Stockton and hey there! So, I want to chat about some really important stuff happening in California. Did you know that 38 cities in the state are technically insolvent? It's true. Places like Bernardino and Vallejo have already gone bankrupt. And when that happens, everything starts to fall apart. Police, fire services, schools, you name it. Property values in these areas can drop anywhere from 40 to 60%, and they usually never bounce back. Just look at Detroit, where houses are selling for a measly $1,000. That could be the future for many cities in California. Here's another worry. California isn't exactly in great financial shape either. With a national debt of $33 trillion, don't count on federal bailouts. If these cities fail, property values will crash right along with them. If you're worried about your own city's finances, you should be. This is something local governments might not want to discuss, but you deserve the real scoop. Now, let's talk about the job market, which is facing a serious shakeup. According to McKinsey & Company, AI and automation are expected to wipe out 4.7 million jobs in California in the next 3 years. This isn't going to be a slow change. We're talking about mass unemployment hitting fast. We're seeing tech workers, lawyers, accountants, and even doctors being replaced. When so many people lose their jobs all at once, mortgage defaults will skyrocket, and that's going to make things even worse. These aren't jobs that will come back either. Once they're gone for good. The California Employment Development Department even predicts that unemployment could hit 15% by 2026, which is pretty much at Depression-era levels. No jobs mean no mortgage payments, leading to mass foreclosures and a collapse in property prices. It really is that straightforward. And then we have the water crisis, which no one seems to be talking about enough. California's water rights system is in serious trouble. About 37% of the state is dealing with exceptional drought, and water allocations are being slashed by 40 to 60%. Without water, properties can become unlivable, and we're already seeing this happen in some Central Valley communities where wells have run dry. If you can't sell your house because there's no water, that's a huge problem. Major agricultural areas are turning into dust bowls, and cities are imposing permanent water restrictions. Swimming pools are being filled in, and lawns are dying out. This isn't just a temporary issue, it looks like it's going to be the new normal. And really, insurance companies aren't going to cover homes that don't have consistent water access. What do you think about the possibility of the water crisis making entire areas uninhabitable? Let me know your thoughts. You know, we're really starting to see some concerning trends unfold. The situation with the dollar and its impact on California is like that unexpected twist in a movie that everyone seems to overlook. California relies heavily on international trade, about $578 billion a year, which puts it in a vulnerable spot. When the dollar eventually loses its status as the world's reserve currency, it's California that's going to feel the pinch first and hardest. Reports from the Bank for International Settlements show that central banks are unloading dollars faster than ever. China and Russia are now trading with yuan, while Saudi Arabia is accepting payments in rupees. Brazil and Argentina are even talking about launching a shared currency. This is all leading to a potential dollar crash, which means import prices could skyrocket almost overnight. We might see mortgage rates climb anywhere between 15 to 20% just to stabilize the currency. This isn't just a worst case scenario, we've seen it happen in places like the UK, Turkey, and Argentina. When that dollar slips, California real estate, priced in a faltering currency, will lose its luster for international buyers. So, let's look at what's set to unfold by 2026. In the first quarter of 2025, tech layoffs will ramp up, and we'll continue to see insurance companies leaving the state. Then, in the second quarter, the fallout from regional bank failures will start to cascade. Come the third quarter, the collapse of commercial real estate will creep into residential markets, and by the fourth quarter, we'll be looking at a holiday retail disaster with lots of stores shutting down. Moving into the first quarter of 2026, adjustable rate mortgages will hit their reset points, leading to payment shock for many. By the second quarter, forced sales will flood the market. In the third quarter, property prices will start to crumble, setting off panic selling. And by the fourth quarter, we could witness a full-blown collapse, with prices dropping by 40 to 50%. This isn't just fear-mongering, these are tangible signs we can see. The underlying issues are so broken that there's little chance for rescue. Unlike back in 2008 when the government had a toolkit of options like zero interest rates and bailouts, that's just not feasible now. We can't lower rates because inflation is too high, and any more money printing would only exacerbate the situation. After the 2008 crisis, bank bailouts became politically toxic, and now institutions like the Federal Reserve and Treasury don't have the resources they need. Plus, California itself is struggling financially, and the federal government is drowning in $33 trillion of debt with no reinforcements on the way. When this crash hits, it's going to hit hard, and there won't be anyone to step in and save the day. So if you want to keep up to date as this situation develops, subscribe now. I'll be documenting each stage of this unfolding crisis in real time, because understanding the factors at play is crucial. Hey everyone, it's Alex Harper from Mortgage Monitor. Let's talk about something serious happening in California's housing market. When we think about home prices crashing, it's not just a number. It's real lives affected. Millions of Californians could lose their homes at once, and that's going to lead to some serious chaos. You remember back in 2020? We had stimulus checks and eviction protections helping people out. This time, though, there's no safety net. Now get this. Folks at UC Berkeley have found that property crime jumps up 39% with every 10% drop in home values. We're possibly looking at home prices plummeting by 50%. Just think about that. Gated communities might turn into fortresses, and retail spaces could become totally undesirable. The fabric of society starts to tear apart, which just pushes more people to leave and drives prices even lower. It's a vicious cycle with no way out. For years, California's been able to justify sky-high home prices with great weather, job opportunities, and a lifestyle that's hard to beat. But guess what? Those perks are fading. We've got wildfires, droughts, and floods. Paradise is definitely lost. And with remote work becoming the norm, why stick around for jobs here when you can work from anywhere? Plus, lifestyles are changing for the worse with homelessness, crime, and struggling schools. Other states are looking more appealing. Texas has a friendlier business environment, Florida has no income tax, Tennessee offers a lower cost of living, Nevada brings freedom, and Arizona has sunshine without the hassle. It's no surprise that California has led the nation in people moving out for the last 5 years, and it's picking up speed. 2024's exits are up by 47% from last year. When California loses its advantages, prices will drop to match what other states offer. Why fork out $843,000 for a home in California when you can find a similar one in Texas for just $290,000? The destruction of generational wealth could be massive. Homeowners in California think they're sitting on a gold mine, planning their retirements based on home equity that might just disappear. According to the Federal Reserve, Californians have about $8.7 trillion in perceived home equity. If prices correct by 40 to 50%, that's about $4 trillion in wealth wiped out. Think about it. Retirement smashed, college funds gone, inheritances erased. 3 generations of family wealth could vanish in just 18 months. It's not just a financial hit, it's a psychological blow. When people realize their life's work has just disappeared, the impact on society could be huge. If you're counting on California home equity for your retirement, drop a comment below. You need a backup plan, and you need it now. And trust me, there's a hidden inventory bomb that's about to explode. All right, let me break it down for you. There are about 892,000 homes in California that are owned by investors who jumped in between 2020 and 2022. Now, these aren't your regular homeowners. They're basically speculators. Right now, many of them are struggling with cash flow, losing between $2,000 to $4,000 each month. They're just holding on, hoping for home prices to go up, but that's not going to happen. When they finally decide they've had enough, we could see nearly a million properties flood the market all at once. That's like 4 years worth of normal inventory hitting us in a single go. In cases like this, prices don't just dip, they crash hard and fast, like what we saw in 1929, but this time, it's about people's homes. Things are about to get even trickier with some new laws coming down the pipeline. Take California Senate Bill 179, for example. It gives cities the first chance to buy up foreclosed homes. Sounds nice, right? But it's actually a huge problem. Cities are short on cash and can't buy these properties, so they end up just sitting there, unsold and neglected, which drags down neighborhood values. Then there's Assembly Bill 2928, which makes it super tough for landlords to evict non-paying tenants. Because of that, many are choosing to sell instead, which only adds more homes to the market. And don't forget about Proposition 5, which seems helpful since it allows homeowners to transfer their tax basis. However, this could also mean a massive influx of properties hitting the market all at once. It's like every well-meaning law just ends up making the situation worse. The government is trying to tackle issues they don't fully understand, and their solutions are speeding up the impending crash. On top of all this, there are international conflicts that could really shake things up, like tensions with Taiwan or issues in the Middle East and Ukraine. If any of these escalate, we could see oil prices soar to $200, which would hit California hard since we rely heavily on cars. Shipping costs could skyrocket too, causing everything to triple in price overnight, and mortgage rates might shoot up to 12 to 15% as the Fed tries to manage inflation. Now, here's the kicker for California specifically. Tech supply chains would take a major hit. If Taiwan runs into conflict, we might not get any chips, which means Silicon Valley could collapse. According to the Rand Corporation, a conflict with Taiwan could wipe out 73% of California's tech jobs within just 6 months. That's around 2.3 million jobs. Those homes in the Bay Area that were once worth $2 million could plummet to $400,000 or even less. The problem is that traditional real estate metrics are misleading. Median prices may seem stable because only wealthy buyers are still in the game. But overall sales volume has dropped by 67%, and the few transactions that are happening are all high-end, which messes with the numbers. It's like trying to measure a fever with a broken thermometer. It just doesn't give you the real picture. Hey folks, let's chat about something that's not getting enough attention. You might not have heard this, but according to Altos research, if you take a closer look, home values have already dropped by 18% when you adjust for the mix of homes. The real downturn has begun, but it's kind of hidden in the numbers. By the time the median prices catch up with what's really happening, it'll be too late for most people. The smart investors have already moved on, and now institutional investors are starting to sell off their holdings. It's mainly the everyday homeowners who are left holding the bag. One big thing to keep in mind is the trend of people moving away from California, which no one seems to be calculating correctly. For a long time, people flocked to California for its amazing weather, but now they're leaving because of climate disasters. According to the First Street Foundation, 4.7 million people in California live in areas at high risk for extreme weather. Insurance companies are aware of these risky zones and are redlining significant areas like Paradise, Santa Rosa, and Malibu. They aren't rebuilding these places, they're walking away from them. When millions of homeowners find out their homes are uninsurable and, as a result, unsellable, that's when panic selling will kick in. But seriously, who's going to buy property in a fire zone when there's no insurance? Nobody. Those property values will plummet to zero rather than just dropping by 50%. It's about to get real, creating abandoned areas that spread property devaluation like a bad disease. I want to stress that this isn't some doomsday thinking. It's just math. When income to mortgage ratios reach 9.3, a correction is unavoidable. With 78% of homeowners unable to afford moving, liquidity just dries up. As insurance becomes less available, lending comes to a halt. And when people start leaving, demand goes right out the window. These aren't just guesses, they're calculations, just like the math that predicted the 2008 crash and other housing downturns throughout history. California's reached every single metric that screams collapse. It's not a maybe or possibly, it's a guarantee. Frankly, the timeline I'm mentioning for all this to unfold, 2026, might even be optimistic. Honestly, I could be on the conservative side here. Just think about it. One major earthquake, one bad fire season, or even another bank failure could shrink that timeline from years to just months. Seismologists have said there's a 72% chance of a significant earthquake hitting the Bay Area by 2026. When that happens, and it's a matter of when, not if, insurance companies won't just leave California, they'll abandon the whole West Coast. That would send shockwaves through all the western states. California might lead the charge, but states like Oregon, Washington, and Nevada will follow within weeks. We're talking about a staggering 15 trillion in real estate value disappearing almost overnight. So don't forget to like and subscribe right now because when this takes off, you'll want to stay updated. If you've got property in California, here's my advice. Sell it now. Seriously, don't wait until tomorrow or next month. Do it today. Sure, you might miss out on a bit of money, but trying to find the exact right moment to sell can really backfire on you. If selling isn't an option for you, make sure to get the highest insurance coverage you can and do it fast. It might already be too late. For those of you renting, keep at it. Don't rush into buying right now. Let the landlords deal with the losses and save your cash for when home prices drop by 50%. If you're dealing with adjustable rate mortgages, you should refinance to a fixed rate right away or consider selling. Seriously, don't let time slip by. If you work in real estate, construction, or finance, it's time to update that resume. Make sure you've got 6 months worth of expenses saved up because job losses are going to hit hard and fast. The downturn won't be the same everywhere. Some places could see prices drop by 60 to 70%, especially in fire and flood zones or areas that are tough to commute from. In contrast, some established neighborhoods with good schools and low crime might only fall by about 30%. But take my word for it, everywhere is going to drop. That's just a given. The real question isn't if you'll lose money, but how much. The California dream, it's gone. It disappeared when teachers couldn't afford to rent, when nurses were living in their cars, and tech workers were packing up for Texas. What's coming isn't just a little dip, it's a huge shakeup. We're facing the consequences of 40 years of poor policies and unrealistic expectations smashing against reality all at once. And here's the tough part that nobody wants to hear. Recovery isn't going to be quick. Looking at examples like Japan, where the real estate market peaked in 1991 and is still down about 60% after 33 years, we should brace ourselves for a recovery that could take 15 to 20 years at a minimum. It might never fully bounce back, because once folks realize they can live better for less somewhere else, why would they return? Companies are seeing that remote work is effective. Who'd want to keep paying for office space in California? And retirees will definitely reconsider their living situations when they look at taxes and costs of living. This isn't a temporary exodus, it's permanent. I'd love to hear your thoughts on whether you think California can recover from all of this. Honestly, given the situation, I can't see a way back for it. The psychological impact is going to last for generations. Millions of people in California have their entire savings wrapped up in their homes. When that value disappears, it's not just about money lost, it's a blow to their identity. That pride of being a Californian homeowner, it's all tied to the idea of building generational wealth, and that's at risk now. The idea of reaching the American dream is becoming more of an illusion. We're likely going to see a huge rise in depression rates, divorce rates will soar, and sadly, suicide rates will skyrocket, something people don't talk about much. This isn't just about an economic downfall, it's a social crisis too. This crash will shatter the California myth, and it won't make a comeback. But don't lose hope, because there's a silver lining in all this chaos. When everything seems bleak, when properties are selling for a fraction of their worth, that's when you can build generational wealth. Right now, prices are too high, but by 2027 or 2028, once the dust settles and things stabilize, California real estate will present an incredible chance. The weather will still be gorgeous, the beaches will remain stunning, and the innovation culture will carry on. The key is to buy when others are selling and sell when everyone else is seeking to buy. Those who are smart about positioning themselves for this crash won't just make it, they'll flourish. I've just shared a ton of valuable insights, worth what could easily be $100,000, but I didn't charge you a dime. Big institutional investors would fork out millions for this research, and you got it all in just half an hour. However, knowledge without action doesn't do much good. You can choose to brush off everything I've mentioned, hoping I'm wrong and risking it all. Or you can take charge, protect yourself, get ready, and set yourself up for what's coming. The choice is yours. But remember this moment and where you heard it first. In 2026, when prices start to tumble and everyone is wondering, how did we not see this coming? You'll know you were ahead of the game. The real question is, what will you do about it? Don't expect mainstream media to warn you until it's too late. They rely on real estate advertising. The government won't give you a heads up either, as they need that property tax revenue. Real estate agents aren't going to tell you the truth since their income depends on transactions. Banks won't make it clear that they're holding all those mortgages. Only independent voices like my channel will share the unfiltered truth. That's precisely why there's a push to silence channels like mine. They shadow ban content like this because informed individuals make different choices, and those choices disrupt their system. This situation goes beyond California. When it falls, it'll impact the entire U.S. housing market, since California constitutes about 15% of the national GDP. Once it collapses, a recession likely follows, and even a depression could be in the cards. Your home in places like Ohio, Texas, or Florida will feel the effects too. While you might not see 50% drops everywhere, a decline of 20 to 30% is very possible. No state will escape untouched, and the ripple effects will spread through the banking system. When you think about home prices in California, it's kind of a big deal. If those prices start to fall, it can really shake up everyone's confidence across the country. Suddenly, that feeling of wealth disappears, people stop spending, and the whole economy can come to a halt. That's how a local crash can turn into a nationwide disaster. So here's the deal. Make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. When things start to pick up speed, and trust me, they will, you're going to want to get those updates right away. I'll be keeping an eye on every little detail, every data point, and every sign of trouble as it unfolds. This channel is like your early warning system for what could be the biggest financial disaster we've seen in our lives. You don't want to be the last one to find out. You want to be ahead of the game because your financial well-being could really be on the line. And hey, click on one of the boxes on your screen to check out another video about the real estate economy.